Hey, everybody, welcome. My name is Daniel G. Garza, and this is Put It Together Conversations. How are you guys doing while Dr. J is here with us today and he gets comfortable? I'm going to start sharing our pages so that other people can join in on the conversation. Pardon me, folks. Live TV. Reminding you that we are live tonight. Put It Together Conversations is live now. You can also find it at abnormalentertainment.com next Wednesday, like we usually do. But for right now, if you want to be part of the conversation, you can join in. Remember, if you want to ask a question, you've got to go into the dark conversation part. Otherwise, I can't see your question. But we're going to be here for the next hour. I want to start as usual, thanking my producer, Mr. Kevin Moyers from abnormalentertainment.com for all his help and support. Thank you, sir. Also, Mr. Jose Reyes from H Bridge Management for producing the show now. He is helping with talent, and he's also my manager. So he's got to work for me, bring me some good people so we can get good shows for you guys. I don't know why I'm rambling. Actually, I do. I've had a very long day. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, and I want to tell a quick story before we get into the conversation. I am working at the voters booths this year, so I'll be at one of the booths out here in Orange County. So please vote, and if you're in Orange County and you see me, please stop by and say hi, and tell me that you saw us here either on Put It Together Conversations on the Christian and Daniel Show or the Card Devo. Remember, Little Mexicans Productions has show all week long, so you can catch us in any one of those. Um, let me start. Dr. Jay Singh, let me go with your bio first before we have you talk. I you giggle, but it's a really good bio. People should know. So Dr. Jay Singh is a native of Las Vegas, Nevada. He earned his undergraduate degree from the University of Southern California in 2014. When he realized he wasn't in enough student loan debt, he decided to double down on that debt and later earned his doctorate of dental surgery degree from the University of Southern California School of Dentistry in 2019. During his time in dental school, he earned several awards for his clinical excellence and patient care. During his time in dental school, Dr. Singh worked in numerous community clinics such as the Union Rescue Mission Project and JWCH programs on Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles, providing dental care to underserved population. Dr. Singh also has extensive experience in treating patients with dental phobias. Check him out, guys, and can tell you jokes that are more painful to hear than any pain a dentist will ever cause. In his free time, Dr. Singh enjoys playing sports and spending time with his family and friends. Dr. Singh was also a stand-up comedian for a short time in dental school, but decided dentistry was a way better fit because it took him some time to realize he had to actually be funny to be a comedian. Ask him to tell you a joke if you see him. So there you go, guys. That's Dr. Jay Singh. One of the cool things was that my Christian, our director, was so excited when he heard your bio because he was like, "Go Trojans!" There's another fight yell, isn't there? Like fight
Yeah,
on.
fight on.
There you go. So
Thank you, man.
a big hello to all the USC Trojans out there. Thank you for watching the show. Uh, welcome to the show. So do you like being called Dr. Singh?
Oh no, so I have all my patients call me Dr. J because I don't know, Dr. Singh's just too formal, man. I don't like the formality of it. It's this thing of like I don't know. You've seen the movie The Hangover, like they shit on us half the time about not even being real doctors. So,
Well, I'm
you know.
okay. So we'll go with Dr. J for the show.
Uh,
I do have to tell you, first of all, Jose and I were talking before the show came on to kind of get a little feedback, but I fall asleep at the dentist. I don't know about anybody else out there, but every root canal I've ever had, the
yeah.
dentist, I've had the same dentist for 11 years. He gets mad at me. He's like, wake up. I'm like, dude, it's the drugs. I don't know, man. Like something, something
You
about
take a
the drip.
benzodiazepine beforehand? What do you do?
I don't know what happens, but I go in there and like if I know I'm gonna have a root canal, I'm like, nap time. Yes. So they'll do the shot and there's just something, man. I'm like, oh, and then they
It's the
start
chair.
drilling. Then they start drilling, and I'm like, and he has to poke me. He gets mad now because we're like now that like plastic glasses and all this protection is there. But before he would poke me and he speaks Spanish, he was like, despiértate. I'm like, what? He's like, don't fall asleep, open your mouth. I'm like, okay. So then they had to put those things on my mouth because I would fall asleep and drool there. Anyway, so
Yeah.
that's just
No,
me.
I
I don't
got
know why
you.
I'm sharing that. But welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on the show.
Appreciate you having me, man. Thank you.
Uh, so I'm really curious. Before we move on to your put it together story, I'm really curious about the phobia stuff. People with phobias. How did that? Is that like a study, or did you
So,
learn that?
I mean, as you know, like, just people coming to the dentist all the time are very stressed, very, very nervous about it, a lot of anxiety. So I'm able to calm that down in a manner that I feel is, good for both me and the patient. So the thing is a lot of it you try to handle just by talking to them, being, open minded, just figuring out what like you got to find like the root of their fear of like why it irritates them to even go to the dentist in the first place. Because a lot of patients are scared of it because they had a really bad experience before. So you got to find out what that experience was and try to do everything that isn't that. And sometimes if that shit don't work, then just give them a Valium because that always works.
When all
So
else fails,
yeah, give them some drugs, give them some laughing gas, some nitrous oxide, and then they'll be all good. So
yes. The reason I found it so interesting is because I do spiritual workshops. I'm a spiritual coach, so I work with people about manifestation and letting go of stuff um, through energy. And I just found it really cool that, like, as a dentist, you can sit there and go, not just like it's going to be fine, but let's figure out why it's not fine and then make it fine. Does that make sense?
exactly. Like it's the same process. It's just about figuring out the root of what irritates them or just causes them that anxiety, that pain, or that negative emotion, and then just working around that. And that's literally how you make people in life comfortable, right? Like, let's say you go on a date with a girl or something like that, right? Like you start like talking to her, trying to make her feel comfortable with you, because it's a process of like just making people comfortable with you that will like you, they'll appreciate you more as a human being. So it's like there's different aspects of life you can attribute this to. That's just, one of them. And there's tons of different ways. Like you can make your kids feel comfortable in a certain situation if you're a father or mother. You can make like if you're a coach, you can like coach your players up to feel comfortable in those like high pressure situations at the end of games. Like it's just like a life skill I feel like everybody should try to learn, because that's the things like this. There's so many things about life that just like that are uncomfortable. There's a lot of risks you got to take in life, and there's a lot of things you got to do that are uncomfortable. And if you can help people to, like, tackle those fears and those like negative emotions, then you can just promote more success.
That's pretty awesome, man. So much depth to you. Like depth, not debt, depth, depth,
Yeah, there's debt too. Don't worry about that.
depth.
Goddamn, $500,000 in student loan debt, man. I'm not even joking
that's
about that number.
that's a lot of teeth to the tooth fairy to pay off that debt.
Yeah, that's a lot of root canals I got to do to make up for that.
Well, let's get started with you. So, Dr. Jay Singh, tell us how you put it together.
You can just call me Jay if you want. Don't matter to me. It's all informal here. But like how I fell into dentistry, like I got a lot to me, man. I don't know. How do you want to start? Just anywhere I want to start.
Yeah, and we'll follow
Yeah.
along. The
So
whole
basically,
idea,
like
the whole idea of the
I
show is we want to hear your story.
yeah. So I grew up in Vegas. Moved out here to LA. And that's moved out here when I started going to USC. So went there for undergrad and trying to figure out. Like it's hard. It's hard for any young person to kind of figure out what you want to do in life. You're 18, 19 years old, and life literally tells you, okay, choose a major or choose an interest, and you have to stick with that. And if you mess up, then you're going to be in a situation where you don't know if you chose the right situation, or you don't know if this is the right path for me to follow. And you get very confused, because what do you know at that age? What do you know at like such a young age, right? So I remember my dad always told me growing up, you need to become a doctor. It's the Indian thing. Like, that's just the way it's supposed to be. And I tried to go to medical school, and honestly, I got rejected. I didn't get into medical school, and I got into dental school at USC, and I was like, okay, like, this seems like a great route to go on, because I don't want to keep applying to medical school and keep saying no. And dentistry is a great field to go down. So I kind of just did it because my dad told me. Like, patients will ask me, like, honestly, they'll say, why did you choose to become a dentist? And I literally look at them straight in the face, serious as possible, and say, because my dad told me.
Wow.
Like, there's no better way to say it. And they usually laugh when they hear that, because it's just so honest. But in reality, it's like you just kind of got to choose something, go with it, and just kind of hope for the best. Like, it's not like dentistry is like my passion, or I wake up thinking, oh my God, I can't wait to be a dentist today. It's just, it's kind of like the comedian Chris Rock. He says it best. He says, you shouldn't choose something that like makes you happy. You should just choose what you're good at. But then he also says the problem with that statement is you're just going to find a bunch of Uber drivers that are after that statement. You know, like he's right. Like everybody, like it's a fact that you just choose something, you go with it, and just choose something. I think like I would just alter that statement and say just choose something that gives you the lifestyle that you want to live. It's just, I think life is just as simple as that. Like, what do you enjoy doing, and what can you do to like in a career that'll give you the freedom to pursue that? And
Right.
so like that's the thing with me is like dentistry is great because I I work from 8 to 5 technically, or like normal like 9 to 5 job or whatever you want to call it, and I get paid a lot of money to like, and I want to live in LA, so it's like great, like these are things that I enjoy, and on top of that, like I get to be called a doctor too, so women think I'm smart, so that's good.
That's yeah, that's always a plus. But okay, so I don't want to get too serious here, but
No, you good.
uh, I understand the cultural side of it, of like family or parents dictating kind of like the career path that you should go in.
Hmm.
And you, I mean, by your bio and by what I've read about you a little bit, you're doing really well. You do really well in your practice, so that's good. You're young. You're good looking. You've got everything on your. I mean, are you happy?
Yeah, definitely. I'm very happy. It's ironic too because when I was doing comedy, I don't know if you heard this, but there's this stat that always is brought up: is dentists have the highest career out of all careers. They have the highest suicide rate,
Really?
and it's funny when I hear that because there's just multiple theories that I have to this issue. Is that like most uh, people that couldn't handle being doctors ended up becoming dentists because it was easier, but they couldn't handle that workload, so they ended up killing themselves because they couldn't just handle the stress. And yeah, it is a very stressful job. Don't get me wrong, but it is. I'm very happy because the thing is like my work is sure it's tough, it's hard, but I get to enjoy my life after I leave that office, right? Like I get to do things that I enjoy in life. And I think like if you have that balance of okay, sure you work hard, but you also have your free time to enjoy what you want to do. I think
So
like if
you're
you find that balance in life, you're good. Go ahead, my bad.
no. So you're able because it sounds like you're able to like you're Dr. J during the day. I rhymed. Dr. J during the day and
Yeah.
like with all that comes with it. And then as soon as like for like about you clock out, you're just J.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Is
mean,
that
yeah, in a
are
way, but
you able to separate the two people?
yeah, but I try to be the same person all the time too. Like, because honestly, like, people can see right through BS, man. People are very
Yeah,
intelligent about being able to tell if you're not being genuine with them, if you're not being honest with them. I think that's a
right.
quality we tend to undermine in other people a lot. Like, I try to be the same person I am now, I guess, on this, podcast as I'm on the show with you right now, as I am with my patients or I am with my friends. Like I don't really try to change it up because people appreciate honesty, people appreciate genuinity, and so if I can give off those vibes, maybe I'll get it back in return. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's just
And
the kind of way I see it. So I just try to be the same person. Granted, like I'm not going to make all these dirty jokes like I would to my friends as I would with my patients or something like that. But there's always a balance.
yeah, good. I've talked to some of my clients about that. It's like I'm the same person all the time. I'm like, yes, at the core we are,
Right. To
but
extent.
it's like M&Ms. You don't get a bag of M&Ms with all the same color, well, unless you
Yeah.
order it that way. But uh,
That's a really good point.
you get different things, and like I got we have three different shows on the network. So
Hmm.
on Christian and Daniel, I'm together with my partner, so I'm one person. Here, I'm more about guiding the conversation. I'm a different, and on the Cardivo, I'm a totally different person. So it's so different. But at the core, you are that same. I feel like I'm the same person. I mean, I
I
can
would
still
think
be.
so, right? Like
Yeah,
otherwise people wouldn't vibe with you too well, or people wouldn't like get along with you too well if you're always constantly changing these personalities, right? Like
yeah.
yeah, it's just, you know, with you just got to figure out that balance, right? Like you can be a certain, you can be more of a certain type of person of your personality in front of certain people, or you know, I try to act more professional at work, of course, but you know, there are times where I like will say like a little bit more aggressive jokes because I know that patient's a little bit more chill or relaxed. Like I know like you can do those types of things, you know, but you just, it's all about reading the room and reading the vibes of everybody around you. So
Exactly. So for everybody
yeah.
watching, this is Put It Together Conversations. My guest today is Jay Singh, Dr. Jay Singh, uh, dentist, comedian. And I'm going to throw in there because a little birdie told me that you're a matchmaker.
Oh no. Okay, so I play that role a little bit. You ever seen that movie Hitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I try to do that shit on the side. I really try to like get guys better with women. I don't think I'm like the best at it, but like I think it's a simple concept where guys just get like nervous or they don't know what to say or they overthink things when like things are just really simple in life. We just try to complicate them for some reason. That's just our mindset.
Yeah.
The matchmaker though, I do try to play that too. Like I set up one of my friends with another girl I know, and like they're supposed to go out tonight, but I don't know if that's
Ooh.
gonna happen because there's only so much you can help somebody, right? Like you can lead a horse to water, but can't make it drink. That old saying. Like you can
You and
try to help
I,
people.
we should collaborate between your matchmaking and my spiritual coaching and get some of these dudes set up, man. But you're right because I've helped. I've had clients for several years.
Hmm.
But obviously, we don't know each other that well, but I do coaching. I do card readings. I do energy work. We do a lot of energy unblocking to get people move. But like, if you
Yeah,
don't like, there's only so much I can unblock, dude. Like
right.
gotta put a
You
little
gotta have,
effort.
they gotta buy into it at least somewhat, or it's just gonna be ineffective, right?
But yes, so Jose, my manager, mentioned that the matchmakers. He's like, bring that up if you can. So I just thought I'd slide it in there for a little
Um,
bit.
yeah, I mean, it's a fun little side hobby thing, I guess I try to do, but you know, I thought it's just something I like dabble into every so often. It's not something I'm too serious about. It's just more of like a fun little hobby.
Well, I'm going to come back to that and ask you some questions about that before we
Of
leave.
course, of
But
course.
you talked about balance. How do you keep yourself balanced and centered or grounded? I mean, especially with I know from my dentist, he was really like my dentist been my dentist for 11 years.
Hmm.
We have a really fun connection. We joke. We both speak Spanish. We make dirty jokes with each other that
Hmm.
nobody in the office understands. He's seen me through cancer and everything that came with it.
Wow.
So we have a really special connection. Him and I, he was really upset when I had an appointment and there was plexiglass between us because we couldn't joke around. And he's so used to giving me a hug now that it was really odd. Like I was pissed off. I was like, this isn't a dentist appointment. I didn't get a
Yeah.
hug. And so I understand, like from watching him, how it bugs him. Have you kept the balance through all this?
Through all this, like, oh, so what the COVID stuff, that's been annoying with the plexiglass stuff. So that's been hard to juggle. I'll give you that. I look like I'm in a damn astronaut suit when I go to work. But like through just everything in life, it's just, you know, like I feel like, yeah, it becomes hard to like, I guess, balance, but it's just a matter of fact of, I think this is true for everybody, is if you find something important to you, you'll always make a priority of it.
Yeah,
And there are a few things I find very, very important in life. And two is actually, two of them being my work with dentistry. So I definitely have to, you know, give my all there because you know, it's your career, it's your work, it's your livelihood, it's what pays your bills at the end of the day, right? You have to take that very seriously. And plus, like, you know, when people allow you to work in their mouths and essentially their body, there's a lot of trust that they have to give you, right? And so I find that's it's kind of stressful dealing with that because you have to be so precise as a dentist. You're like cutting tiny millimeters amounts in like someone's mouth of like whether it's bone, if they're doing a surgery to kind of like extract a nasty tooth, or you can't like slip up, you can't mess up. Like you're cutting teeth, you're not trying to like choose the wrong tooth or like cut the wrong tooth. Or when you're doing a root canal, you have to like finish before like an apex between like zero point 0.5 to like 2 millimeters. Like that you have like a basically a range of error of about 1.5 millimeters, which is like really
wow.
difficult to deal with. So the precision that you have to have is very difficult. And so you have to give it a lot of effort. Like even after you leave, you still have to take these things called continuing education courses to get your license renewed. So you have to do that every so often. So you make priorities of that. Then you find other priorities. Like one of the things I really enjoy doing is playing football. I love playing football. I love football. Football's like my drug in life. And the thing is like you make sure you have that fun activity that you enjoy as well along with it. You find that thing that you really love doing, that thing you appreciate, and you go find out like where you can do it, what you can do with it, and use it to your advantage. Like you take your career, be serious about that, have your hobbies or hobby that you really enjoy and pursue that. And that's where you kind of find your balance, I feel like, is just making sure you set aside time to do the things that you enjoy in both regards.
That makes sense. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I tell this to a lot of people, and especially I have I do mentoring sessions on a couple
Hmm.
of different apps, and one of my things is always telling is like I get it. You want to be the best at your career, and you want to live well. You want money. You want the car. Like I get that, but where is the balance? Where is the social aspect of your life?
Exactly.
Where are you getting something back for everything that you're putting out? Because
Yeah.
people don't realize, and it took me a long time to realize that work is about putting out. Like even if I get the car and the house
Hmm.
and the people, whatever, you have to put out a lot of energy to get all that stuff.
Yeah.
It
I
doesn't
mean,
come cheap.
nothing in life comes easy, right? And so I
Yeah.
completely agree with you. It's like everybody wants like these lofty, crazy goals, but like we're all human. We all have limitations. We all have things that we can and can't do. And you got to find that balance of how hard you can really work towards something and watch it become successful. And there are times where like you can do things and you can't do other things, and it's like hard to figure that out, especially when you're young. But it's a learning curve we all have to kind of face in life, and it's hard. It's all difficult, but like
Yeah.
like that's what makes, I don't know, I feel like that's what makes life kind of worth living in a way. Is like if it was came easy for everybody, or everything became easy for you, then anytime you're hit with any kind of adversity, you're just gonna like freak out or fail, or get completely toppled by it. So
Yeah. I if we'll talk after so I can share my story with you. But
I'd
for
love to hear it.
the audience that knows me, that known this show, that we're on our 8th season. So for the
Oh
people
wow.
that have been following me for the last 8 years, they've been with me through moving to California, cancer, my
Mhm.
ostomy, um, my
It's amazing.
relationship. So
Yeah.
it's a lot. So one thing I always again share with my clients and my friends is like there's nothing has ever said we guarantee that your life is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like
There's no guarantee for anything in life.
yeah, paradise is in heaven, so you have to wait till you die to be great. And if you've seen any of those heaven movies, it's not that easy to get into heaven. It's always a pain in the ass. But
Yeah.
um, I definitely have, like I wake up sometimes in the morning and go, this is my life. Like this is my life. Like today
Hmm.
I went to orientation and training for a job that I'm a temporary gig. And then I had to run home and then I get to interview somebody. And I'm like, this is my life. Like this is so freaking awesome. It's
But do
not
you enjoy
easy.
it though, right?
Man, dude, I was when that clock was counting down to 5 o'clock and she wasn't letting us go home yet, I was like, I've got an interview to do. And then I'm on the freeway. I'm like, oh, and then
Oh,
this,
you got those nonsense stressors, but
and
man,
then I live in Laguna Beach. So coming into the beach, there was like traffic, and I'm like,
yeah.
I've got an interview to do. Get out of my way. But I still
Yeah.
made it in time. I still made it in time. Um, Priorities. That's a big thing. And I want to tie this up to the comedy. How did you first step into comedy?
Oh, it's funny. I've always appreciated like stand-up comedy. I've always loved stand-up comedy. But I remember there was like this random guy I met during undergrad at USC where he like gave me these, like he put me on this email list to get like free comedy show tickets at the Hollywood Improv for this some show called Comedy Juice. And I used to go because I'm like, oh, free tickets and comedy, I'm gonna go. So I'd go every so often. And then I'm like, man, this, like live comedy is so much fun. And I just got the urge to try it out one day. And I remember during your second year at dental school, especially at USC, I'm not sure at other dental schools, but at USC, it's so stressful. Like it's putting in like 16-hour days all the time, and it just was miserable. And I remember I was like so miserable, like just because you're constantly studying and just working so hard. You never have free times like for a whole year. So by the end of it, I remember I just had this urge to like get on stage and just try it out. And I remember I tried it out, and I mean, your first time when you do comedy, you're gonna suck. So like, I bombed so bad, but I got one laugh, and I'm like, oh, that shit was fun. Like one laugh. Like I gotta try that again. It's little victories, right? And so I remember I didn't really do it much until I broke up with my girlfriend, and then when I broke up with her, I just started pursuing it like crazy because I had more time. And I failed so much, bombed so much, man. I just did terrible at first, but like I knew that like every so often I get like one laugh here or there, and I'm like, man, like I want to get better, I want to get better, and eventually like I just kept pursuing it, and like it does. Not everybody's funny, and not everybody can do it, but like as I started doing more and more of it, I started realizing like, holy shit, like there are some really insanely funny people, like way funnier than I am, that are really really good at this, and you hit a point where you're like, damn, like these people are really good at what they do, but have no like they haven't made it in a way, and you kind of doubt yourself. You're like, man, if they haven't made it, then what the fuck am I doing? But
Yeah.
that's the thing about like show business almost, or like are like making it in a way is just there's no sense to it. You just gotta you gotta just go out there, push for it, and just hope it like things go well, because there's just really no
No,
sense. There's no logic behind it.
no. I've been doing public speaking and motivational speaking for about 19 years, 18 years.
Yeah.
And I took a class. It's where I met Jose. I took a
Hmm.
class mainly because I wanted to learn how to write jokes to include in my public speaking.
Right, right.
And so I took the class, and the first showcase, my very, very first joke was about going to the colorectal doctor and getting
I love
checked.
that.
That was my,
Do you remember what it was word for word?
yeah. So I started off with butt jokes just to put it out there.
Okay.
Uh, Not word for word, but I talked about going to the colorectal doctor and how the sound of gloves still turns me on, and
That's great.
um, and how good he smelled because my uh, babak Rad, that's my doctor. They call him Bobby Rad,
Yeah.
uh, at Hogue. Let me tell you, like, if I weren't gay, I'd be gay for that man. Let me just put it that way. He smells good all the time, and but it was all jokes about bending over and him like throwing fingers up my butt. And one of my
Yeah.
there's two coaches. One of my coaches, like comedy coaches, was like, "No, don't do that joke. Nobody wants to hear about butt jokes when they're eating nachos." And the other one was like, "That's when they want to hear butt jokes, when they're having nachos." And
Wait,
this was it.
go
Huh?
ahead, go ahead. Go ahead, go ahead. Finish it.
This was at the ice house, and it's like, we're at the fucking ice house. Let him tell butt jokes. So that was
Yeah.
my very first joke, butt jokes.
You know what's funny is how like that story reminds me a lot of I forget this guy's name. He's a really famous dude too. He was on he's a really good comedian too. He was on that the historical roast on Netflix. Steve Attell. I think it was Steve Attell or David Attell. David Attell. His last name was Attell. But he
I'll
was
look him
really
up.
funny. Yeah, but anybody that watches comedy is going to know him. And all your viewers that are watching, comedy, stand-up comedy know this. And it reminds me of your joke. I was at one of those comedy nights with some friends, the free tickets I got. And I remember like my friend was eating ribs and he starts licking his fingers. And then Steve Attell says a joke on stage saying, oh, like something about balls. And he looks over at him and is like, look at this guy licking his fingers during a ball joke. And everybody at our table just lost our shit laughing. And I'm like, damn, it reminds me of what you said about the glove and like the sound and just like
Yeah.
doing these nacho jokes, like the butt jokes when people are eating or whatever. It's just hilarious.
But one of the coolest things that came out of that very first show was we got off stage, and since we're all graduating from the class, we're all stood outside to shake hands and whatever. There were
Hmm.
like two, three people that came up to me. One lady who was going through cancer came up to me because her daughter was in the class, and shook my hand and gave me a hug. She's like, "I'm going through cancer right now, and it's so good." I'm paraphrasing, but she was like, "It's so good to hear somebody make fun of cancer that made me laugh. She goes, so thank you. And every time I performed, she would go and see me. So it was really
That's
cool.
amazing,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
dude. Good for you. Well, let me ask you this, because I haven't like followed your show obviously for the past 8 years or anything like that. But what kind of cancer did you have? Like
I had a anal cancer,
anal cancer. Okay,
butt
and then
cancer, butt
I mean
cancer, I call
the
it.
fact that you can make a joke of it is amazing because you've accepted it. You've like learned how to like make light of the situation, and then like like accept it as part of who you are as a human being. Like that's difficult to do for a lot of people. So I commend you a lot for that.
Well, it happened, and I made it. I've been very public about a lot of things in my life over the last 15 years,
Hmm.
and I started on TV in Houston in 2005. And my
Hmm.
very first time on television, I'm an HIV educator and trainer, so on prevention. Anyway, so back in 2005 in Houston, the very first time they invited me to be on TV was for World AIDS Day. So I show up with dildos and condoms, and
No, you didn't.
I thought this was on cable media, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
still, it was a very popular show when I was a guest. So I show up with my little dildos and my condoms. I was like, and then Spanish TV, and I'm like, así se ponen los condones. And I'm sure people started calling me Condom Man, and people would
Condom
stop
man.
me. People would stop me at the grocery store. There'd be
Yeah.
moms at the grocery store, this Mexican grocery stores, and she'd be like, "Tell my son he needs to wear a condom. Tell him he's gonna get
No, you're
AIDS."
joking.
No, yeah, so serious. And I'll be like, okay. I'm like, look, dude, this is how you put on a condom. And I'd be like, let's go to the produce section. I'm like, here's what you grab. And
Yeah, grab a cucumber or something.
for a couple of years, I did that. But
That's amazing.
here, I'll end with this because this episode's about you. But one of the jokes, the joke that got me into the school,
Hmm.
because they were not auditioning people, but they were seeing who was funny. We were at a SAG class at the union, and we were writing quick jokes to go upstage and tell your joke. So my joke that I wrote like in 5 minutes was, one of the best things about having anal cancer is that finally one of my childhood dreams is coming true. I finally know what it's like to be a Muppet.
I like that one.
Thank you.
That's clever.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you,
clever.
folks. I'm here all week. Come back and so what the Matthew Moore, who was one of the teachers, and Corey Craig, the
Yeah.
other. Matthew Moore was the one that was like, "You're fucking funny. You need to come to our class." And I was like, "I'm in." But Joe got me into comedy. Yay!
I mean, dude, whatever it takes. That's great. I love that.
So this brings me to my next part. And for everybody watching, this is Put It Together Conversations. I'm your host, Daniel G. Garza. My guest this week is Dr. Jay Singh. If you're watching and you want to ask a question, be sure to go into the actual live show and ask the questions. I see some people watching, but if you want to ask a question, go in there and ask your question. We're open to the questions. But um, you and I are both talking about like things that we love to do despite the stress and
Mhm.
how do you feel any responsibility? Because like I'll put myself first. Like um, as a Latino, gay male, I try to do the best that I can and put out the best image to let other gay Latinos who are younger know that, dude, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. Like, don't let anything stop you. Do Have you ever felt anything like that?
Like, are you saying like feeling more so like that anything can stop me, or you feel like that?
Like to younger generations, because we talked at the beginning of the show about a little bit about family dictating a little bit in the direction that you go.
Oh
Do,
yeah, yeah. Okay,
do
I
you
see.
ever
I
feel
see.
like you influence like younger generations in your culture?
Man, I try to. The thing is, but here's the issue, right? Like the whole thing, and any Indian person, male or female, if you come from an Indian household, they can all relate to this. And I mean, honestly, any immigrant really like can relate to this. You're supposed to become a doctor, lawyer, and engineer. And this is like one of my favorite jokes I use in comedy is how many of you guys grew up in an Indian or immigrant household where you expected to become a doctor, lawyer, and engineer? I got my biomedical engineering degree as well in undergrad. So I say I became two of those things, two of those three things, and I'm still a disappointment to my dad. I can't wait till he watches this clip and he finds out I'm a shitty comedian now. Like the thing is like I can relate to that like aspect of okay, like you got to do what your parents tell you to do, whatever. And I've literally fell into that stereotype. Like I can't say that I didn't. Like I know like it's easy for some people to say like and I hate it when celebrities do this bullshit when they say, "Oh, well, it happened to me, so it could happen to you." It's like, no, like you were one in a absolute 300 million like success story. Like the odds aren't really in your favor. I think like kind of going back to what I said earlier, like dude, like find something that gives you the lifestyle to do what you want to do. Like dentistry gives me the lifestyle for me to go out and do open mics and perform in comedy, like and do shows if I ever get invited to them and things like that. Like it gave me the freedom to do that. And I think that's like the important thing. And I think the best example of this is literally that a guy that was in The Hangover, the Asian dude, Ken Jeong. He's in
Yeah.
a lot of stuff now. He's in Dr. Ken and like Community. He was in a lot of random things, but you know, like his is a great story. He literally was a doctor, and he was always had comedy in the back of his mind what he wanted to pursue, and eventually he had his big break after pursuing it for 20 some plus years.
Yeah. Well,
And
he
it's
he
just
was
all about
discovered on The View. It was the funniest
right.
doctor in America. That's where I remember watching him. I remember
Yeah,
watching when he yeah.
exactly. He is the best example of it because if you really want something in life and you really like are gonna push for it, you'll do everything in your power to achieve that. But like at the same time, you got to find out a way to make a living for yourself. You got to find out a way to like you know like put food on the table and pay rent and do those kind of things in life. And unfortunately now, Dave Chappelle also said it great. He said that you know, like as a society, it's hard now. He says Dave Chappelle, when he was younger, when he was 18, he could be like working a minimum wage job and he still afford an apartment in LA. But like we can't do that anymore. Like the problem is rent is way too high. You know, jobs don't pay like they did before, like comparative to like how much everything costs nowadays. So you got to have like different plans. Yeah, unfortunately, you have to pursue education a little bit more, like be a little more clever in the way you make money. And that's the thing is like yeah sure it is tough, but like it's not too tough to where it's impossible. Like we're in the US for like you know for God's sake. Like if I was born in like India or something, be like a little slumdog millionaire kid, like I'd have no hope. Like there's no hope for me. But like here born in America, you still have so much opportunity,
Yeah.
so you can really do those things like he did. And you know just never give it up, just constantly pursue it. And even if you don't get it at the end of the day, did you enjoy it? Did you have fun? The journey's what's half the fun, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. And
the
you're so right
struggle.
though, because
Yeah,
my parents worked in factories my whole
yeah.
life. That's all I ever knew them. So my
Hmm.
dad, his hope was like, come work at the factory where as soon as I graduate high school, come work at the factory. You're bilingual, you've got some education, maybe you make it to management, you'll be fine. And I was like, I don't want to work in a factory. Like,
Yeah.
and when I decided to go into, because my background is in business administration, when I wanted to go into business, it was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I want to go. I didn't want to go to college. I did trade school, but I'm like, I want to go to school and I want to like, I'll be done in a year and I'll learn computers. He's like, why do you want to know computers? And he just couldn't comprehend that. But it's really funny, like in
It's very similar.
the different cultures, the stereotypes that exist. And yeah, like my
Yeah.
dad would have been happy if I had a landscaping business and like go mow lawns every weekend, go to the flea market to buy boots. I don't know what the hell.
Yeah. But you'd be miserable doing that, you know?
I,
Like
I don't sweat well. I
I
am
don't
not.
sweat.
I am not that kind of Mexican, and I am way too gay. And I don't
That's
do
great.
sweat well.
I love that. That's hilarious.
No. I sweat well in like clearance sales. There I do really good sweating. Like I can run around in those things.
Yeah.
And at a taco truck, I sweat well there, but
So well there.
not mowing lawns and no, I'm not gonna do that. So I want to go back to the matchmaker. Okay, so we're going back to matchmaker.
Okay,
So
okay, yeah.
can we go there? Because I want to
Of
know more
course, man.
about
We can
this.
talk about anything. Nothing's off limits with me.
So I want to know because some of my listeners have heard me through the years talk about letting go of stuff to like be better people. And I always, okay, one of my pet peeves, because I do live shows where I do readings for people. And one of
Mhm.
the biggest questions that I get, and it's like the number one question is like, will my ex come back to me? Does my ex still love me? Does he miss me?
Yeah.
And
Damn,
I
you get that
finally,
a lot?
yes. And I finally went like, no, because you're
Yeah.
needy
Yeah. That's a
and
great way to say it.
and you're whiny and you haven't done anything to grow. So why would your ex want to come back to you? Um,
Tell them how it is. I like that.
Yeah, and on TikTok, I have a show on TikTok live, and finally I was like, I do not answer things about your ex. He's not coming back. He cheated on you. Why? Why would he want to come back to you? Okay,
Yeah,
so I'll get off my soapbox. But
no, you good.
what are what are three things that people I don't want to say get wrong, but people can improve on to find a perfect partner?
Man, this is oh, I could go on all day about this one. The first thing is take the word perfect out of it because you're never gonna find someone perfect. Everybody, nobody's perfect on this earth. Like absolutely nobody is. So like, and especially if like you look at yourself and you don't think you're perfect, then why do you deserve someone perfect? You know, like that's the first step to take. And the thing is like if you're looking for a partner, I think it's really simple. I really don't think it's that complicated. Is if you're looking for a partner, find out like what you're willing to put up with almost or what you're willing to compromise and then really go from there, like find somebody you enjoy and just like learn like because there was a research study showing that people who spent more time trying to make a relationship work, like couples that spent more time trying to make relationships work, ended up making those relationships work more so than the couples that looked for like the perfect like characteristics. Like this, my partner, like if you're a man, like you're looking for like a blonde, blue eyes type of bullshit, or if you're a girl, he needs to be tall, dark, and handsome kind of bullshit. Like those things are so secondary. And like the thing is, you just really got to find somebody that's willing to work with you and work with who you are as a person and you got
Yeah,
to be accepting of them as well and everything they're about.
yeah,
And I think it's really that simple. And the problem is most people are like this is the problem with like our society as a whole. I think is we as like human beings are constantly chasing this idea of what's beautiful or what like makes us look good or like what we want and like the if you look at like for a man, right? As men, we all want like a woman that's like really fit, like big butt, big breasts, all that shit, like right, like just all like the physical aspects of like beautiful hair, beautiful eyes, all this like stuff. You look for like absolute like great looks in every regard, but it's like if you're not that, then you're not gonna get that as well. If you're not fucking beautiful, you're probably not gonna get that as well. Like you just gotta understand that like you're gonna really get what you put out into the world. Like if you're have ripped six pack abs and you just like look good all the time, yeah, you probably can like be a little bit more picky in that regard, but or if you like are a funny dude and like how to like talk to people well or stuff like that, then yeah, you probably can get like a more diverse range of women. Or the same thing for women too. Like things are very equal between us two. Like for women like try to they try to find like a man that like is all these different characteristics of what they find perfect, and they got to realize that okay, like if you're not perfect yourself, if like you're that absolute gorgeous Victoria's Secret model looking woman, you can't really demand all that kind of stuff, and even if you are like somebody, your looks are gonna fade over time, like like nothing's gonna be forever. Like sure you may be like this great looking 23-year-old girl, but eventually you're gonna be that whatever looking 57-year-old girl like at one point in your life, like
yeah.
you gotta like be
I think
very
people forget that. People forget that in the equation that you're
yeah.
gonna get old at some point. Like,
And like what's really gonna last at the end of the day? Is it gonna be those looks that you're like chasing, those characteristics that you love so much? Or is it gonna be like, hey, this person's really smart and I enjoy my conversations with them? That's gonna last a bit longer. But at the
yeah,
same time, like Dave Chappelle says it great too. He's like, man, after 22 years of marriage, I already just know everything my wife is gonna say. Like you just stop talking about certain things. You just know what's gonna come out of that person's mouth after a certain
yeah,
point. And like he's right too. Like you got to understand that if you're a girl or a guy that wants marriage, you got to understand you're going to lose that spark, that excitement that was there in your first few months or years. And it's just like it's hard make like everybody I've ever talked to that's ever married always told me marriage is hard. I've never met anybody that said marriage is easy. Or if I've ever met anybody in relationships, they always say there's some kind of compromise or anything in
oh
that
yeah,
regard.
totally,
And like
totally.
people don't understand that concept of like, look, you have to compromise for them, they have to compromise for you, and you got to find that middle ground that works for both of you guys.
Yeah,
And that's what
Christian,
people don't
which
understand.
yeah, Christian, you met him before the show started. My partner, boyfriend, and director. We've been
Hmm.
together 8 years. We met online.
Mm-hmm.
And right from the very beginning, like the first conversations we had, we were both on the same page. We're like, you're not here to complete me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your job to make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 42 when I met him. I was turning 42. I'm like, I'm in my 40s, so I don't need you to come and save me from anything. Like, I'm good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just need somebody to join me in this disastrous life that I'm trying to put
Yeah.
together. And he was like, me too. I'm like, right here, dude. Like, we're good.
See, that's something you probably realize at a mature age, and it takes a lot of people to like hit that level of maturity to understand that, right? And
Yeah,
so that's the thing is that you guys hit that point, and it worked out great for you guys, and I'm happy for you too, you know. But like
and
for a lot of people that are really young, like and all the young viewers that are out there watching this, I just hope they understand that like dude, just because you're a certain age doesn't mean like you can't find what you're looking for later on in life. Like everybody, like especially in their early 20s, is thinks it's the end of the world if they don't find somebody by that time. And I get it. For like women, you have a biological clock of like when you can have babies, this or that. Like there's certain restrictions, but at the same time, like you should always like with relationships, you should always like find a place that makes you happy or something that makes you happy being in or being part of. And
yeah,
if you're not happy like at the core of that situation, then it's like then why waste your time in it? And it seems
exactly.
like you guys found that balance of like what you guys appreciate, want, and there's just really no bullshit with it. And
And honestly, after cancer, and then he was sick for a little while. We
mhm,
kind of went through all like the hardships.
yeah,
But
that's gotta be tough.
the day that I found out that I had cancer, we were driving back to his place, and I looked at him and I was like, "Dude, if you're bailing, this is the time. Like, do it now before everything starts. Because
Hmm.
if you're in it, you're in it. Like halfway, like right now, you wouldn't be an asshole. Right now, you'd be like, okay, I can't deal with this.
Hmm.
You're out. But if I'm going through chemo and radiation and you're like bailing, like I'm
Hmm.
telling everybody what a dick you were through this whole thing. Like I'm gonna talk bad about you. But he didn't leave, so we won't
That's
talk bad
good.
about
That's
yeah,
good.
because he knows how we'll be like, he left me when I was hurting.
Yeah.
I had butt cancer and he left me. But
But like, I mean, that's the thing though, is like you gave him the out and you said it was not going to be bad if you do it now. So at least you're honest with them
yeah,
too, like it goes both ways. So
and we're very fortunate. I'm very fortunate. We both have lost parents, and uh,
yeah,
we've both been like sick. They needed like doctor treatments, and
of
uh,
course. It's an amazing thing that
so
you guys found each other.
yeah, and so he knows I love him, but I
Yeah.
won't tell him in
And
public because it
uh,
goes to his head. So gotta
I
keep him
like
in
that.
check. Gotta
I,
keep
I
him in
did
check.
I did want to add this though, is that the matchmaker thing is just more so like I think the matchmaking thing is more so that I try to get unconfident men to be more confident in themselves.
Nice.
With because the thing is like in that movie Hitch the entire time, I love that movie so much because it's so true. Like his whole character is talking about how women make it very difficult to be loved in a way, or to be in like these relationships in a way, because like men will make all these mistakes after a time and won't really understand like how to get a woman, but like these are amazing dudes, they just fuck up at the beginning stages in a way. And I'm just trying to get them to not fuck up at the beginning stages, because I did that a lot. I used to be terrible. I used to be terrible with women. I used to be fucking up all the time, and I never understood why. And it took a long time to get even decent. I don't even say I'm good at or anything like that. It's just like if you just have that confidence within yourself, like you can around all that bullshit.
When
You know?
was your first date?
Oh no, I was young. Like, my first day was probably like when I was 17, 18. So it
Wow.
never, or no, not even that. It was 16, right when I got a car.
Nice.
But I always had that confidence in me per se. But like it's like this. This is a good way to say it. Like when I was with my ex for like 7 years, and then I broke
Wow.
up with her. Yeah, I was with my ex for 7 years, and that was a long time. But like I broke up with her right when I turned 26. And when I was 26, I was dating like girls that weren't looking that good, like to be honest, because I just was not good with women. And like, I've, as the years have passed by, they've gotten a little bit better. But like, I'm not gonna lie, like there are a few chubby ass girls in that like to that phase where it's just like, damn, these girls ain't looking good. And my friends are probably like, what the fuck's wrong with you, dude? Why are you dating them girls? Like you're way better looking. But like, I didn't know how to handle it. So it's like over time, you fuck up, you learn how to like talk to them. You have to go through those like chubby girls to get to like those attractive ones. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thought process. I mean, I don't know. Guys will always try to say like, oh, I only like do these things with like these kind of women, but like, man, every dude that like has ever like been successful with women always had like some fat chick in there somewhere, some shit. Like that's just real. Like you ain't never like been perfect throughout your entire life. Like you fucked up somewhere, and that was me when I was 26. It was just like fat chick, and I'm like, damn, I'm terrible at this shit. Then 27, I got better, and now I don't really fuck with fat chicks. I don't do that shit no more.
He said it, folks. I'm a chubby chaser, so you saw my boyfriend. I like him. I like a big
You
boy.
do like them a little big, but
I
that's
like a big
good.
boy.
That's what you like. That's not me though. I like women that like a little
I,
fit and skinny.
I'm a good old Texas boy. I like my Bubbas. He's not a
What part of
Bubba.
Texas? I
I
used to
was
live in Lubbock.
really. Well, I grew up in Dallas, and then I lived in
Dallas,
Houston for
okay.
a while. And so hello to friends in Dallas, Houston, and the Rio Grande Valley. Saludos a todos.
Nice. Yeah.
Did he
Lubbock, the
say
panhandle,
yes?
man.
He did. Jose's asking, did he say fat chicks? Yes, he said fat chicks several times, folks. We're coming down to the last 10 minutes of the show. I've missed the part. So usually at this point, I ask my guest, Dr. Jay Singh, to give out some words of wisdom to my listeners. So what words of wisdom do you have, sir?
So I basically kind of went over it a bunch. I kind of like I think I mentioned a lot was like you it seems like you okay your viewer base is probably a lot of like similar base to your kind of you kind of clients base where you're your spiritual coach, you're that advisor, you're that mentor, people that are really like kind of lost in life. It sounds like people that really are trying to figure things out. um I kind of say this is I don't think anybody ever figures it out. I don't think anybody ever like gets life down, and like for me, I'm still figuring things out. I'm young, I'm 28 years old, man. Like
Wow,
I still got
you're
to
a
figure out a lot.
baby.
I
You're a
know, right?
baby.
I'm very young, and I mean, there's still so much for me to learn. But I think that's the best way to say it is if you always have an open mindset that you're always willing to learn and take criticism, you'll always find a way to achieve success. I truly believe that because every billionaire, every insanely successful person, they always are willing to fail. They're always willing to like take criticism. They're always willing to like never let small things bug them, like small comments people say about them. They're always just focused on the bigger picture is the best way to say it. So I always just say like don't let little things affect you. Don't let little things bug you. Don't let failures get under your skin too much. Like we all got to fail at life to achieve any sort of success. It's all perseverance, and that like honestly like that's kind of how I got to my state. Like perseverance is the biggest thing on earth by far. Like that's how I got through dentistry. Is there were times where I like would fail tests and I thought it was the end of the world. Like there's so many times I failed like at things in dentistry and dental school, but I got back up. I worked harder and was able to pass these things or sometimes come out with A's and things. Like just because I got to this point in life doesn't mean I didn't fail a ton of times. And I wish people would more openly admit that. People don't admit that they failed a bunch to get to where they're at now. And that's what you got to embrace. You got to embrace the failure. And if you can embrace failure and understand that it's not the end of the world and you can keep pushing, like I failed in comedy. I bombed so much and eventually I got better at it. I failed with women. I failed like I had fat chicks, right? Like I failed with that, but then I got better. I failed with dentistry. I got better at that. It's just
But
embrace the failure.
if I can give you any words of wisdom,
Love to hear.
is my 20s were a blur.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mostly because I was on crack most of the time. But besides that, um,
I love how
I
honest you are. Keep doing that.
but my 20s were where I completely fucked up everything.
Right.
Relationships, family relationships, work, money, my bank account, like
Right.
everything got screwed up somehow. And then my 30s, I started to like fit into my skin and be like, oh wow, like it's okay to be me. I don't have to add drugs and alcohol and partying and all-nighters and losing job. Like losing a job is not a badge of honor, Garza. Like get it together. And so my 30s, I started to like fix things that I messed up in my 20s. And that's
Mhm.
when the lessons happened because it was like, did I really do that? Like, oh wow, yeah, that's where that bruise came from. I remember.
Yeah,
And then my 40s, man, my 40s have been the best, even with cancer. I
yeah,
I look at my 40s as like I have highlighted every bruise and bump and every memory that I had that was negative. I said, okay, you're a memory. You live in my head. I'm going to use you for something good. I've been HIV positive for 20 years.
hmm,
It's a career now. Um, Cancer's a career. My drug and alcohol time.
hmm,
I've been sober now 13 years. That's part of my career. Like it's where I've learned to use all the negative stuff, mistreated, bullied, hated on, called a fag, like everything that happened with my in my teens, 20s. Like I'm gonna use it now, and it's gonna make me stronger. I'll be 50 at the end of the year, and I feel like I'm ready to take on whatever comes my way, like anything. And again, I didn't have my own, like I couldn't get on the show, so I started my own show.
nice.
So yes, make mistakes, man. Use the last couple of years before you turn 30 to make, not on purpose. Don't go out there and just stop fucking up for no reason. But if you mess up, just put it aside. It's not gonna be obvious why you made the mistake. Like right now, it'll come back in several years and you'll look at it and go, oh, I get it now. I get it now.
Yeah,
And it's gonna make you stronger. Not that you already aren't like a tough guy. Like I respect you. Like for those of you, I didn't say a how we met story because I usually say a how we met story in the beginning, but we were connected. You were referred
yeah,
over
by
to the
JR.
show. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Jar,
Yeah,
for
appreciate you, bro.
saying it. But so there was no real. This is how I met him story. So yeah, uh, but man, you're kicking butt. You were such an inspiration to people, and that, I'm sure there's
Appreciate it,
somebody
man.
out there that's watching you going, maybe they don't want to be a dentist, but like maybe they are part of the same culture, going, I want to go after my dreams and goals, which is the point of the show. So
Yeah,
you go.
glad to hear,
All
man.
right. So we're coming down to the end. We're down to the last 3 minutes of the show. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. My guest is Dr. Jay Singh, who is now a friend of the show. I want to invite all of you to go catch us on abnormalentertainment.com, where you can listen to all the shows on the network. If you missed any of these shows and you want to listen to them while you're driving, go check them out there. You can go on YouTube and watch these here, or just come back to Facebook and replay them. Little Mexican Productions, we've got the Christian and Daniel show on Wednesdays at 7:30. We've got the Card Devo here on Facebook on Fridays at 6 o'clock. And on Sundays, we'll be back at 5 o'clock next week. We had to do a special thing today because I was working till 5. But we'll be back next week with putting together conversations at 5 o'clock with a new guest. So come check us out. Oh, Amanda. I just forgot her. Amanda Rhodes, who wrote a book and is a fellow advocate. She'll be here next week. So come check us out. You'll see more information about her during the week. Uh, what else? Check me out on TikTok. Find me on Instagram doing more Card Devo stuff. And so yeah, go do that. Okay, I told you this in the email, and you were kind of nonchalant about it, but you're not out on social media a lot, are you?
No, I kind of toned it down after I started working as a dentist. So you can find me as not a real Dr. J. I'm on that on Instagram. So
Okay,
sometimes
got
I'm
you.
on the
Because
posting memes or
I got I sent them an email. I'm like, dude, I can't find you. He's like, you found me on Facebook. Yeah, but I can't tag you. So what was the point of finding you?
my bad.
So I was
Yeah,
like, I was trying to
I,
send you the flyer, and I was like, okay, this dude is. And then Christian was on here before, and he was like, I can't find him. I'm like, he's nowhere. He doesn't exist. This is a lie. I'm being
yeah,
punked. He's not a
I'm
real
not really
dentist.
big on social media. That's just not me. It's not my personality. So
Awesome. So how can people find you for
probably
matchmaking
Instagram.
or? All right.
Instagram, just drop me a DM or whatever. Not a real Dr. J, like, but it's DRJAY. So
Okay. We will
that's
find that and post it for you guys to find them and go check them out. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate
appreciate you
this.
having me, man. Thank you. It's fun.
It has been such a great conversation. Thank you again to my producers, Mr. Kevin Moyers and Mr. Jose Reyes for putting all this together. I want to thank my director, Mr. Christian Paul Ramirez. Thank you for all your work. I want to thank you guys for joining me here and for following me on Facebook. Thank you for watching. Remember, share the show and tell your friends. We'll see you here next week, 5 o'clock. Put it together conversation on Tinder. They want to know if you're on Tinder.
I can show them my profile. I'll promise you, if you take my advice, you'll get a lot more matches.
Woo, there you go. We might have him back just for a matchmaker show, so stay
Yeah,
tuned for that,
but
guys.
I'm on one dating app. That's it. I don't really fuck with too many of them.
When you're a dentist, who needs that? But
Yeah.
don't go away, Doc. We're going to talk after the show. For all of you watching, thank you so much for joining us. This is Daniel G. Garza saying, hey, put it together.